Everybody, I don't feel we are here. You didn't notice? It's good to see us back. It's good to see us back. You look like the best one and shit, right?
I'm Frank Tieri.
I'm Donny Cates.
Donny Cates. Yeah, sure.
What's up? How are you guys doing? Yeah, good? Answer me, come on. How you guys doing? Wake up! I know it's Sunday, we're almost done, but let's get excited and have fun.
Well, in that case, let's begin. My name is John Kirk. I'm a writer for Pop Mythology and Back Issue Magazine, and it's a real privilege and a real pleasure.
It is, isn't it?
It is. Which one is privilege and which one is pleasure?
All pleasure.
There we go.
I'll take it.
Okay. So let's begin with well, first of all, yes, this is Frank Tieri, and yes, this is Donny Cates.
Hey.
And let's get the ball rolling with your influences. What were your first influences?
First of all, is this being recorded?
That's not mine.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, what is this?
We can have more fun if we're not being recorded.
Yeah, who's this?
I don't know, let's make sure it's turned off. Oh, that's recording. Well, I guess so. Someone's
Maybe it's voice
recording.
activated.
Someone's recording.
The machines are taking over.
My first influences. So for anybody who, what are you doing? Stop it. Oh, Jesus. Oh yeah, all my, if you guys read my stuff, obviously I'm a kid of the '90s, right? I grew up reading Spider-Man comics and Venom comics and Green Lantern comics, but yeah, I was a Lantern kid. Hal Jordan stuff, like the Emerald Twilight, Emerald Dawn stuff was when like Hal turned into Parallax and went crazy and started killing all the cores. So it was awesome. Outside of that, I was a big Joss Whedon kid, big Kevin Smith fan, that kind of stuff. Mallrats was kind of like a weird inspiration for me, just as a human being, because the character of Brody was the first character that I ever saw that he was a comic book nerd, but the jokes weren't on him. Like, he was the cool one, and if you didn't read comics, you were lame, right? That's right, they are. That's right. Joe has sweet blonde hair.
Yes, she does.
And every time Joe Quesada makes fun of me for dyeing my hair, I'm like, I can pull up pictures out of Wizard magazine, dude. We could do that.
You were frosting your tips.
Yeah, man. So yeah, I was just always kind of into like all that kind of stuff. Joss Whedon's writing is probably one of the biggest influences on me. Stephen King, you and I have that in common. Stephen King. How about you, Frank?
Comic book wise, I mean, I'm a little older than you, so it would be John Byrne, any Byrne stuff,
You grew up on like the timely comics.
Yeah, I grew up in
the 20s, the
They were
30s.
writing shit on rocks.
Right, yeah.
John Byrne, when his X-Men, Alpha Flight, FF, I was a big Byrne guy.
Yeah, totally.
I would read anything by fucking Byrne. You could write something on a fucking piece of toilet paper, I would read it. I got Claremont's X-Men, Frank Miller, Daredevil, all that stuff.
You're a Marvel guy.
I was a Marvel guy. I strictly collected Marvel
Really?
stuff. I would not, I liked Batman and Superman when I was really young, you know what I mean? But I didn't collect Batman and Superman stuff. There was a period where I stopped collecting comics, you know what I mean?
Marvel did some weird, not weird, but like they did some interesting market research back in like the early 2000s that Quesada was telling me about, where they most people who start reading comics as a kid, they tend to follow the same path, where their first entrance into it is generally Batman or Superman.
Yeah.
And then
Spider-Man.
And then they get into Spider-Man and they fall more in line with the Marvel stuff. And they either stop reading or then they evolve out of that into like the Vertigos and the Why the Last Man's and Preachers and stuff like that. It's all generally the same, but it's interesting because Superman and Batman are more
recognizable.
Like easily, they're symbols, right? Yeah. And then they grow into characters. People love Peter Parker when they love Spider-Man, right? And then if you stay into it, you start to move beyond characters and you start to follow like, oh wait, this guy John Byrne, he did this and I liked that, and then
Right.
this he did this, and then you follow writers. And
At first you follow characters.
Right.
When you're a kid. And like for me, when I was growing up, the older kids were reading the X-Men and Star Wars. That was like,
Oh, really?
yeah, because like you were first introduced to Superman, Batman, you know, because they're on lunchboxes and whatnot, and Spider-Man, the Hulk, you know. But later your taste, you know, evolved and you get more, like you say, to be what's considered like for older kids and whatnot, you know, and then it evolves, like you said, where you're following writers now. All of a sudden, you notice, hey, the stuff I like here, it's certain writers. It's Byrne, it's Claremont, it's Frank Miller, it's Walt Simonson, Thor.
Yeah.
You know, Simon, you know, that was
The pinnacle.
Totally.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
amazing. Yeah.
What were the characters that really stood out for you? Who were your favorite characters growing up?
Yeah, I mean, Spider-Man and Venom were my Spider-Man first and foremost, and still kind of my number one guy. But I remember very distinctly going to because my brother loved baseball cards, and so there's this place in the mall that my dad would take us to get cards, and they had comics there, right? And Spider-Man was my guy. And then I remember going into that store. So my Venom run began on Venom's 30th anniversary, right? And I'm 34. So I would have been around 4 years old when I walked into that shop and I saw a cover with Venom on it. And I was like, who is this crazy Spider-Man monster? What is this? What is this? The guy who worked there was like, this is a new character named Venom, man. He's crazy. He's like doing all this stuff and everything. And I was just like, I need all of it. And I've been buying all of it my entire life. I've just been obsessed with the character my entire life. So like the Venom run that you guys read from me is the culmination of like 30 years of fanfic that I'm now making real and canon. I remember growing up telling kids like on the playground and stuff, you know, just make up shit about him because they wouldn't read the comics and I would, and so they would all just ask me, you know? And I remember telling them, well, you know that green goop that comes out of his mouth, that's how the symbiote produces waste. And like when the symbiote it is now because I put it in Venom. I retconned myself into not being a liar.
That's
so
what happens when you get.
right. As I grew older, though, on the Marvel side, Thor. Thor is probably one of my the Walt run. Like you look at a character like Thor and going back from the earliest stuff, but really starting with like the reinvention of the character with Walt, right? There hasn't really been a bad run on it since Walt. Like every run on it has been amazing, you know. So you can just start with Walt stuff and go, and it's all crazy. I love Thor the most because he's just Superman, but he's a dick.
Yeah.
Perfect. And I mean, like I've gotten to a point where like you know, and Frank knows this, but like you get to a point where when you start making comics, it does suck a little bit because it takes the magic out of it a little bit.
You see how the sausage is made.
Yeah, and so like instead of me being able to be like, I wonder what Spider-Man's doing, I read it and I'm like, I see what you're doing, Nick Spencer. Like I know this and this and this and everything, right? So it takes it out. But Thor is still a title for me that I'm just a 90-year-old kid when he smashes someone in the face with a hammer.
Yeah.
It's still so cool to me. Thor's still just so cool. So Thor was a dude for me. Who else is a big? I don't know. The Vertigo stuff I was really, as a Texan, Preacher was a big deal for me. You know, it was written by Scott. Constantine's a big dude for me. The Authority is really badass. Now just naming books that I like. But yeah, probably like Thor, Venom, Spider-Man might be my big dudes.
I like The Thing because I sound like him.
Yeah.
So I was a big Thing guy.
Say it.
What?
Say
It's
it.
clobbering time.
Yeah.
I actually did the voice of The Thing for some Marvel stuff.
Did you?
It's clobbering time. Exactly.
That's
I
great.
did some voice. I did The Thing. I did Wolverine.
Yeah.
I did and Phoebe Cuckoo.
Really?
Yeah. They wanted Phoebe Cuckoo to have a male voice. So
Yeah.
So I'm like. Yeah, all right, whatever, Professor Xavier. That was my Phoebe Cuckoo.
Mine?
Okay, I gotta ask, how did Wolverine sound? You gotta do Wolverine.
But Wolverine's, I I'm the best there is at what I do, bub.
Not bad.
I put it down a little bit.
My favorite Ben Grimm moment of all time is a Hanukkah special where they're fighting a golem, and it's him and Wolverine. And at the end of it, this is my favorite stupid joke. Wolverine looks over him and he goes, "You're Jewish?" And he's like, "Yeah." And he goes, he's like, "Is that a problem?" And he's like, "No, you don't look Jewish." Such a great gag.
I like the Marvel 2-in-1 stuff too.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? One of my favorite issues of all time is when he fights the champion. You know, you have all, you know which one that is? Dude, that's the champion comes, he's like an elder guy.
I know the champion is.
Yeah. He comes down and he challenges everybody on Earth to have a fight, a boxing match. And he fights the Hulk, he fights Namor, he fights Colossus, and he ends up fighting the Thing, and the Thing is the one that actually like takes him to the limit. You know what I mean? At the end, and he's the one that he saves the Earth. He loses to the champion. I'm spoiling the comic, I'm a dick, but I'm sorry. But
Oh, it's about 30s, right? It's no big deal.
It's from the 1910s.
It's written in Aramaic. It's okay.
It's written hieroglyphics. He winds up saving the world because he respects how the thing fought. You know what I mean? That's like one of my favorite.
That's cool. That's because the thing's got heart.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
that's just to fight him with heart.
What I
Yeah,
think they
slots,
just
new
I
ones.
just do when he
Yeah,
just
right.
beat the Hulk, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but I was like, good. I'll fucking time.
That was a great story.
Yeah. I like the thing. I like Wolverine. Wolverine. It was like before Wolverine came along. You know what I mean? There was not like people killing in comics like that. You know what I'm saying? So he was like, I always liked Wolverine. That's why it's thrilled for me to get to write him. Which he was always, you know, he's always a fun character to write. I also like to write Sabretooth. I like to write bad guys. Spoiler alert.
Same.
Yeah, I love having bad guys doing evil shit. You know, it's fun to write. You know, I like characters like the Kingpin characters. You know, all those characters. Obviously, Punisher. Yeah, I tend to, for whatever reason, gravitate to the darker characters. You know. Yeah, I mean, as far as you know, I was never, like I said, it's like I kind of grew out of Superman, Batman. I didn't get into Batman until later. You know, but I like, to me, his Rose Gallery is the best Rose Gallery in comics. Him, and then I would say number 2 is Spider-Man. Those are the top 2, I would say. But you know, because there's so much diversity in those, you know, there's different characters to play with and stuff like that. So, yeah, I like all that stuff.
Well, let's reach back to your careers though. So, what are your big breaks? What were your big breaks that really saw you gain some traction?
I think oddly enough, we both started as interns.
Yeah, right.
Okay.
Thing is about big breaks though is that there's a misconception is you don't do it once. You know, you break in over and over and over and over again. If you want to get like technical, like my first break was probably my internship, right?
Yeah.
I had my first like my name in print for the first time when I was an intern. When you're an intern, you write all the recaps. I don't know if that was the same way for you.
We didn't have recaps.
Oh, really?
In the
Yeah.
1910s.
And you know, all like the previously on X-Men, all that kind of shit. Interns write that stuff. I was writing all of them, and one of them called for Ant-Man the Wasp, written and drawn by Tim Seeley, and the gag was of the irredeemable Ant-Man. Eric O'Grady was.
Did you write any of my recaps?
I must have. Yeah, I'm sure I did, man. The gag was that Eric O'Grady was doing, he was like doodling in Hank Pym's notebook, and so I did all the drawings for it. It's like stick figures, and so they had to put my name in it because you don't get credit as an intern. But I did art for Marvel, and so they had to put it in. People bring it to me to sign all the time. But then after that, I left that internship, and I had to break in again as a writer. I just started making ash cans and stuff. My big break there was I made these ash cans of this horrible comic book. I'm not even gonna tell you what it is. I don't want you guys to go try and find it. There's only 100 of them that exist in the world. So if you can find one, good luck. So there's a child in the audience now, Frank. Yeah. We started walking up to people, and we would just do anything to get attention. We walked up to these people at the Dark Horse booth. This guy, because he had a microphone in his hand. And I was like, well, he works there. He has a microphone. So we walked up to him and he said, "Hey, you're gonna make fun of me so much for this, Frank. I know you're poised. You're poised."
Bring it.
I walked up to him and I said, "Hey man, I'm sorry. I'm a little lost. I wonder if you could help me. I'm supposed to be famous." Here's the thing, it worked. So who's the joke on now? And then I like put my book in his hand, and we like walked off, and he like
You were
yelled.
wearing a suit too,
I
right?
was wearing a suit.
Wow.
Yeah. I know. And then we walked away, and he yelled after me, and he was like, "Hey, come back here!" And he pulled his card out, and he was like, "I'm gonna give you my card because that was the best pitch I've ever heard in my life, dude." And he was like, "I'm gonna read this just because I'm like the sheer audacity of what you just did." And he read it, and he liked it, and he went and put it on Mike, the president's desk, and they published it.
Who's the guy?
It was Ob Driver, the head of marketing, and like he's not at Dark Horse anymore.
I wonder
It's responsible for me, and they were like, "You gotta go." And so Mike liked that, so I got into Dark Horse Presents. I did 3 of those.
So Dark Horse is where you broke it.
I did 3 creator-owned books there.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, and then
You see how close you got followed?
I know. And then they all failed. They all got canceled, and I left, and I had to break in again. I went to heavy metal and did 2 creator-owned books there. Also failed. Had to break in again, and finally I got to Image, and I published a book called God Country, and then shortly after that I put out a book called Redneck, and then shortly after that I put out a book called Babyteeth. That 4 or 5 month span where I dropped those 3 books, that finally got Marvel to look at me, and they needed someone to take over Thanos, and I've been here ever since.
You know, we always have these breaking into comics panels, which I know we both love. You know what I'm saying? But I always say there should be a staying in comics panel.
No shit.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You break in, but you know what? It's not. Hey, I'm in, and then I'm in now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It doesn't work like that.
I could be done tomorrow.
Yeah. Not me, but maybe.
You're a made man.
Yeah, I'm a made man.
I'm still day to day on me.
See, I broke in also as an intern. Okay, I was Bob Harris when Bob Harris was editor-in-chief. I was his intern of Marvel. Yeah, I worked on as an intern at the Age of Apocalypse stuff and all that stuff. And I didn't know that. But with the way I had to do my internship, I went to the college I went to. You had to do an internship the final year, and there was a list of places, and one of them was Marvel Comics, and I was like, oh.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, exactly. So I had to actually interview. Did you have to interview for my internship?
Of course, yeah.
I had to interview for my internship, and Bob was like, yeah, okay, this guy.
He'll do.
Whatever, this guy, all right. And you know, so I was there for, and then I tried to break in as an inker. I tried to break in as a editor. Okay, I tried to break in as a number of different ways. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? I did photo stats.
Really?
In the photostat room, I did art corrections.
Jesus.
There's art corrections I did where I fucked up.
You made it worse?
Yeah, there was one thing, the pen bled. It was an art correction, I think it was in issue X with Archangel, and the pen bled, and that's it. You know what I mean? They couldn't.
Whose art was it?
I think it was on. Maybe it was Adam Panina.
Okay.
And I gave it. Ben Ram was the assistant editor at the time. I was like, "Hey, here's the." and he's like looking at it, and that's all he did. He's just like,
okay, bye.
I was like, "Okay, here's the thing. All right, I gotta go on my break." You know, I just like shuffled off. But yeah, so I tried to do a number. They used to have people fill in for assistants. I did that. You know what I mean? So I tried. I eventually started working for Marvel.com. I was doing art for them, and but they needed someone who knew the characters. So eventually they needed my writing more than they needed my artwork. And while I was doing that, I was pitching all along. Joe Quesada, who was then in there by the time, he knew I wanted to try to break in. He offered me to co-write Iron Man with him. So that was and that was a number of years in the making. That's, you know what I'm saying? You're an overnight success, 10 years in the making.
Yeah, right.
You know what I mean? So Joe let me co-write Iron Man with him. They liked what I was doing on Iron Man. They offered me Wolverine. Then when Joe left to do editor-in-chief stuff, you know what I mean? They let me take over Iron Man and then Deadpool, and then everything went off from there. And now I'm a whore and I work for everybody.
Okay, so talk about relationships and how important are relationships when in this industry.
I mean, it's everything. I mean, the thing is, you can't. It honestly doesn't matter how good you are if you're impossible to work with or people hate you.
Remember, people hire people they like.
You do.
Just remember that.
But the thing is, it's not an. It's you say that there's there's an other component of it. Like people aren't. You got to be good. Yes. Because you got to think about it. Like in every job in the world, when you're interviewed for a new gig, a part of what the boss looks for is not just how good you are at your job. Is it going to be okay to be around this person every day? Because I got to work with you every day, right?
Exactly.
And so, yes, it absolutely helps to make relationships where people know, like, oh, okay, Frank's a good dude. He's talented. We need him on. We need someone to do this. I mean, like, a great example was the Absolute Carnage stuff. I was quarterbacking an event, which is super hard. It's such an immense time crunch because I'm not only writing Absolute Carnage, I'm writing the Venom tie-in as well, but I'm also coordinating every tie-in and making sure that it fits here and this fits here and this story's cool, it spins out of there. And it's just easier for me, makes my life easy if I can just surround myself with people that I trust and I know that are going to do a good job, right? And so like Frank, we had a summit for Absolute Carnage in New York at the Marvel offices. And that night after the summit, Frank came to the bar. I went to him and I was just like, "Hey, will you help me? I need this tie-in. I need this tie-in. Will you do this?" And he was like, "Yeah. What do you want to do?" And I was like, "I thought maybe we could do this and we could do this." And Frank and I just worked it all out. We just worked it out in like an hour. And he was like, "Yeah, that's cool." But I had an idea and I was like, "That's dope. Yeah, let's do that."
So the good thing about Donny, and I've said this to him, I've always operated best idea wins. Okay, and he feels the same way. So it doesn't. You have some creators that are just very tight with their, you know what I mean. But the cool thing about Donny, working with Donny, is that, you know what? With plenty of times I was like, he's like, let's do this. I'm like, you know what? I think this is it. He's like, no, your idea is better.
Yeah, do that one. Yeah. At the end of the day, like the Absolute Carnage, like omnibus and stuff is going to be me and all the people that I trust and stuff, and so we're all going to get credit for it being cool anyways. Who cares? Yes.
The audience doesn't have to see again how the sausage is made. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's the product that matters at the end of the day.
And that's the thing is, you surround yourself with people that you trust to not only be talented and to make good things, but also to be drama free and to be easy to work with and can get the job done and make the whole thing really cool. So like relationships are everything. Some of the people who hate me the most, mostly on Tumblr, all say that I got my job, I got where I am right now because I was an intern. I was like, well, all you have to do to get there, I guess, is to be an intern and then steal things from Jim Starlin, which, for the record, not true. Jim Starlin and I are cool. We're friends. And the thing is like, well, okay, but let's really look at what that means, right? I was an intern in 2010, right? I didn't get my first Marvel writing job until 2017.
That's 7 years.
Yeah, and so I went, thanks for the math on that one, Frank. And so I double check that when I talk. And so I was, the thing is, so here's the thing, I was friends with all of them. Like I was friends with Jordan, who I would end up working with. I was friends with Sana and Panic and Joe and Axel and all these guys, right? But the thing is, I wasn't hireable. I wasn't a guy who would make them any money. I was not a proven quantity. But they aren't just giving out gigs to write Venom to interns. You know, and so even though I was friends with them, and even though I would send them, everyone at Marvel, I sent them every book I ever did because I knew that they would at least check it out, you know, because they were on my side. That they're like, we want you to get here because we like you, right? But it still took 7 years until God Country finally came out that Axel called me and he was like, okay, now you know what you're doing. Like I read this one and you've leveled up and now I can bring you on. Right?
You talk about like Major League Baseball, it's like they want you to see you go through the minus.
Yeah, right.
I mean,
Because I was approved. It's not just the craft, and the craft is a big part of it. Marvel and DC are the NFL. Like they you don't go to them; they come to you because at the end of the day, it's a business. And at the time when God Country blew up and got a lot of attention, putting me and Geoff Shaw, who drew that book, putting us on Thanos made good business sense. We had a bunch of heat behind our name,
Spoiler alert, they're in the business to make money.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? They're not just gonna put, oh, you were an intern? Oh, here, well, the next
right.
sectors we're giving you, you know what I mean, Thor, whatever the case is. The list of interns that have tried to break in?
Oh my God, yeah. I mean, my class of interns was like 30 people. I'm the only one. There's one other guy who ended up being in marketing at Valiant. He's a great guy, but I'm the only one. It was a lot.
Look, I would say, the internship was invaluable.
Yeah.
Okay? Because it taught you, first of all, yes, spoiler alert, you make connections with people. Okay? That's why you take the internship. Okay? And also, you get to learn the ropes a little bit. You get to learn what to do and what not to do. It's invaluable for that. And yes, you have a foot in the door. But you're not necessarily going to keep that foot in. If you're not talented, if you're an idiot, all that stuff. And
I end up working with a lot of the same people over and over and over again because I just trust them, and I don't want any drama. I don't have time for it.
Right.
I know these people will meet their deadlines, and it'll get done. So like my next 2 books that I'm doing at Image, one is drawn by my best friend Geoff Shaw, who I've done 10 books with and have known for 10 years, and the other one is being drawn by my wife that I live with. She was right there.
Say hi, Megan.
Hi, Megan.
Who I know is amazing at her job because I see her do it every day, and I want to work with her because I like her a lot. I'm really excited for people to give me shit about working with my wife because the response back to that is, if you can do it, you do it too. Shut up.
Well, there's clearly a currency of respect there.
Yes.
I mean, that's what you want. You prove yourself in the mind as you come up, and that respect gets transferred to those relationships,
Right.
Which leads to your career.
Yeah, I mean, I'm writing a lot of stuff for Marvel right now, which is really my fault because I made a giant mistake when I got to Marvel because I proved to them that I'm capable of writing 5 things for them a month, and so they were like, "Cool, let's try 7. Let's see what that looks like. Let's see how far we can break this kid, right?" But the thing is like, I remember I got announced on something and they were like, "Oh, Donny Cates is doing something again. Like, why not get some new talent in?" Which is a valid criticism up to a point. But they know they can rely on me. Like, they know that I can turn it in on time and I can do it, and that a thing by me will sell a certain amount.
They don't give these titles out for no reason. I mean, if I'm getting a book or Donnie's getting a book, it's because, like he says, we're reliable.
Yeah.
They know we're going to put some asses in the seats or whatnot.
Right.
There's a reason for it. It's not just,
It's not buddy
stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, so what are you currently excited about doing right now? What are your current projects?
I'm not excited about anything.
There's an airport I'm super excited about. No, I am doing Absolute Carnage is a blast. And as much
It
as
is a lot of fun.
as much as it's such hard work doing it all, getting to work
But
with
it's nice to see how it's all been received.
people like it. You guys like it? You guys like Absolute Carnage? Yeah.
All right.
Cool. Thank you. Absolute Carnage is a blast. It's cool to be able to play with all of the toys and break a few of them, as you'll all see on Wednesday with the new issues. I'm doing Silver Surfer Black with my buddy Trad Moore, who I went to college with, so that was a lot of fun. Really, I'm just telling you all the things I'm doing right now because the real answer is I'm excited about, the things I'm the most excited about are things you guys don't know about yet.
Yeah. Stuff is spoiled on our other panel.
So yeah, I'm excited to see where, I'm excited for all of you guys to see where Venom goes after Absolute Carnage. We're doing some really wild things. And if this recorder wasn't on, I would tell you about one of them.
See?
I guess I have the power to turn it off, right?
I think there's a button.
All right.
All right,
All right, shut that off.
All right. Is that off? Yeah, that's off. I'm gonna turn the power off too, just so.
Why don't we just break it? Let's smash it.
Let's just smash it. Who wants this?
Who wants this? Anybody want this?
Anybody want this
Sign
thing?
it. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think it's recording anymore. Okay.
There you go.
Yeah. Off. No? Okay. So the arc right after Absolute Carnage is called Venom Island. And it's being drawn by a guy who has a little bit of experience doing it. It's going to be me and Mark Bagley. So very excited about it. Mark Bagley is a childhood hero of mine. Like those were the Venom comics that I read, right? It was Bagley stuff, you know. So me and Bagley are going to be doing some weird stuff. Do not get it in your head though that is any sort of a spoiler for what happens to that character. Venom is a name that is worn by many men. What does that mean? I'm excited about that. I'm excited about next month I'm announcing the biggest thing that I've ever done in my career.
Yeah, that
I can't say that one. They will kill me. It'll be announced next month. It's a big one. Yeah. Yeah.
Keep an eye out for that, folks.
Yeah, I'm excited about the Absolute Carnage stuff. It's been a lot of fun to work on. I think the good thing with the Absolute Carnage stuff is all the tie-ins have their own voice.
Yeah,
you know what I'm
totally.
saying? They're all. I don't. You know, sometimes you see tie-ins that are like, you know, all of them have. You know, the Lethal Protectors that I'm doing. It takes place after Cult of Carnage, and it hits that nostalgia note with all the, you know, with Iron Fist and. Cloak and Dagger and Firestar and Deathlock, so you know that's been a lot of fun. You know,
It's all the Maximum Carnage crew.
it's all the Maximum Carnage crew, exactly.
Yeah.
And then you have the Deadpool's obviously adds a humor element to the. You know, you plop Deadpool in the middle of a horror movie. This is a horror event.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's cool because all the tie-ins kind of are like their own like different subsections of horror films.
Right.
You know, so like there's like a kind of a haunted house vibe to Lethal.
Yeah.
There's a little bit of a creature feature, you know, stuff like that.
Yeah,
It's fun.
Deadpool's like Abbott and Costello meets Frankenstein.
Yeah, that's perfect. Yeah.
So yeah, it's been a lot of fun. Then you know the stuff I'm doing for Archie is that big crossover for Jughead versus Vampironica. The exciting stuff that people have been going excited about is that we've introduced the Archie multiverse. So yeah, as crazy as that sounds, exactly. We played we had Sabrina show up in the last issue, and people were surprised about that. So yeah, you know, what I mean, we're crossing over a bit with Afterlife with Archie, Sabrina, all the, and we're introducing the concept of the Archie multiverse and what that exactly means. Spinning out of that, because this is off, I will say I'm co-writing Vampironica after that.
Wow.
And then we're going to relaunch Jughead after that. Then I'm doing some Batman stuff. What else am I doing? Oh, I'm doing issue Conan.
Can I stop you for a second?
Yeah.
You were like, you spent 10 minutes on Archie, and then you were like, I'm doing some Batman shit. and then you don't want to spend a little time on Batman?
It's a Two-Face. It's a story about Two-Face. It's part of
Archie shows up as a werewolf.
Okay, fine. It's a Two-Face story, and it's basically him in jail, and him, you know, a character like Two-Face always has to deal with flipping that coin.
Yeah, right.
Okay, and he's sitting there, and he doesn't want to flip the coin. You know what I mean? He knows that if he flip, I don't want to spoil the story too much. Okay, but there's a moment here where he knows this is his last chance at happiness. Okay, and he flips that coin that could ruin that chance.
Yeah.
And he's sitting there with the coin. Okay, and that's the whole. It is basically the story is him thinking about what he might be losing out on if he flips this coin. Yeah. So that's the Two-Face story. Okay, you happy I elaborated on it a little bit more?
Don't let me do you any favors, right? God forbid you promote your Batman comics.
And then I'm doing issue Conan, which I've always wanted.
That's awesome.
Conan.
You've never done any kind of Conan anything?
I did Red Sonja.
Oh yeah,
I did
right.
Red Sonja.
I love Conan.
But Conan, I've never done Conan, so I've never scratched that itch. So you know, for me, that's.
Coda, I would love to do it too. When it first came free, we, by the way, all learned about it the same way that you guys did on Twitter.
Yeah.
Like when it was announced that Marvel had it back, and like, you know, I go to the rooms and stuff, and like, you know, part of the Hellfire Club over there, and none of us knew about it. And normally it's, things come free, it's a conversation, who's gonna do it, all this stuff. Jason Aaron sent out an email to all of us and we're like, I'll kill you. This is mine. And we were all like, yes sir. It's all good, man.
As soon as that was announced, like every creator known to man just like, hey, I'll do Conan.
Yeah.
Just put it out
Yeah.
there.
No, and Jason knew that, and he was like, put his sword in the dirt and was like, come on.
Yeah, I did it. I was like, I'll do Conan. They're like, Jason's already got, like you said, his sword in the dirt.
Yeah. There's another, no, never mind.
No, you can't do that.
I recently put a sword in the dirt for something else. So.
Oh, I know. All right.
Okay, all right.
All right, since this is off, I'm going
That's
Well, do we have any questions from the audience, folks?
I told him to not.
Don't know.
No, I'm kidding. Yeah, man.
One of my favorite things of Absolute Carnage 1 was it was oversized. There was just so much packed in there.
Yeah.
Compared to when you go and buy comics everywhere, there's a lot of issues where, it's oversized and it's filled with maybe a bunch of backups, or
Yeah.
it's decompressed. What was the decision behind, was there a decision on your part to, we're going to make the first issue larger instead of, we're going to make 3 issues longer?
Honestly, that's a question for our director of sales, David Gabriel. He decided that he wanted it to be this big, massive issue of like 60 pages. It's 3 issues.
It's almost like 3 issue miniseries in one book.
Well, Absolute Carnage is the page count of a 7-issue series packed into 5 issues. They told me that and asked me if I could pull that off. And I was like, yeah, for sure. Let's see what we can do with it. That's the secret to life, by the way. If anyone ever asks you if you can do something, go, hell yeah, I can, and then go worry about it in private.
Yeah, worry about it later.
Yeah, I literally, that was what I did at my internship. They would come to me with anything, and they would go like, hey, do you know how to fix a printer? And I was like, of course I know how to fix a printer. And they would leave, and then I would just like Google like, how to fix this printer, you know? And so I tell you what, man, I can do the pacing of a 20-page issue in my sleep now. I've written so many books, and you have too. It's like a 20-page issue is the pacing on it is no big deal. 60 pages, it's so easy to let that slump in the center.
Did you treat it like 3 issues?
Yeah, that's why I put the chapter breaks in there, right? Because I wanted it to each one to have its own feel and everything. And I also wanted any excuse to just work out a scene where Peter and Eddie can just go sit in a diner and talk. I was like, I'm gonna jam pack on both sides of it as much action as humanly possible so that I can earn them just sitting down and talking. Because Peter's never been in my book, and I've been purposely hiding him and keeping him away. Like in the 3rd issue, you hear on the news that Spider-Man's gonna go and fight the dragon and show up, and it's Miles. And I was just playing with all of you. I wanted you to think that Peter was gonna show up. Because I've known what my plan is on this book for years now, and I was like, I know that Peter's showing up in Absolute Carnage, so I'm gonna tease it all out. So yeah, it was really tough. I'm glad you guys really like it. Yeah, I had to just, it took 6 months to make that issue. It took me 2 months to write it, and Ryan had to just sit down, and that's why we had to take off the War of the Realms stuff, because we had to go make that.
How long does it normally take you to write a book?
Me?
Yeah. 1 issue of something.
My record is I wrote the first issue of Marvel Knights, which is 40 pages. I wrote it in a day.
Wow. I can't.
That's my record.
It takes me about a week, I would say, to write a normal issue.
I would love to do that. At times, my schedule, because I also write 2 creator-owned books and however many Marvel books I'm writing. There was a time in my life where I had a new script due every 3 days.
Yeah, I can't. See, that's why unfortunately, I'm doing like 10 projects right now.
Yeah.
I have to sometimes just feed people pages to keep them
Yeah.
going. And unfortunately,
That's where I am right now. I'm
Yeah.
doing partials and turning in
Yeah.
half scripts, which
Yeah.
is a drag.
Yeah, but
Um,
sometimes it's necessary. You have to keep people working.
Yeah.
You know. But that's what I'm doing now. It's like, okay, here's 5 pages here, here's 10 pages there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Sometimes you got to work it like that.
With Venom, it's easy because I've had the outline for the entire run done before I ever started writing the first
Right.
issue. So all you gotta do is pull up that book, take that little piece of the outline, put that in there, turn that into pages,
Yeah.
turn that into panels, turn that into that dialogue, and send it out.
It helps.
You know?
Outlining stuff does help.
If you have time to do it.
Yeah. If you have time to do it, I know,
Yeah.
theoretically.
I know. Anybody else? Yes, sir.
Speaking of Marvel Knights, do you have interest in writing Punisher? Doing one on that weird at some point?
Since the recorder's off, I think we should stop publishing that character. I think there just shouldn't be a Punisher book anymore. He's a mass shooter. He's a mass shooter. And I don't think it's cool that we publish that book anymore. At least in the form that it exists right now. I think that there's a way to do it if you like, you know, like he was really cool when he was like in Asgard and like killing elves and things like that. And certainly I've written Frank Castle as Cosmic Ghost writer, who he works there. Dude walking around the streets with a gun, not my favorite thing in the world. So, not in the way that he lives right now. Sorry, it makes it political.
No, it's just that's a lot of conscience. That's amazing. That's really cool.
And also know that like my best friend Matthew writes that book, and I tell that to him to his face. I'm like, the thing that you do that pays your bills, we shouldn't do. And so, Matthew's amazing at his job, and also very conscious of that, and like talks to those ideas and stuff. Again, I think there's a way to do it. I don't think that the old way of doing Punisher is what we should be doing now.
Well, I think he shows the inner conflict. He really does show that process.
Yeah, Matthew's great at it. Yeah, you're not.
I don't agree.
You know, that's fine. That's fine. That's fine.
Yeah, no, I think when you say, you know, then I've done video games too, and people say, oh, video games are violent and this and that. I think these screwballs are going to find something to latch on to. People have been killing people since the beginning. You know what I'm saying? Before comics, before video games.
I completely agree, man. At a certain point, though, the Punisher. There's a weird thing with the Punisher, though.
I know there is.
No,
But
because
like
at a certain point, it diminishes every character around him that they're not stopping him. It diminishes Peter Parker to have Frank Castle running around.
The argument, why doesn't Batman kill the Joker? I mean, you know, there's also...
Well, we paint the Joker as a bad guy.
I know, but if he kills the Joker, then, you know, he's not going to go out and kill people. He's responsible for the people that he kills when he gets out. I mean, you know, you get all these arguments that, you know...
Sure.
All right, we got serious.
Yeah, let's get a fun one.
Thanks for ruining the panel, man.
Sorry, man asked me a question.
Both of you.
Yeah.
Venom versus Cosmic Ghost Rider, no powers in a fixed fight. Who would win?
No powers. Well, at that point, no. You take all the powers away from Cosmic Ghost Rider. It's Frank Castle versus a shadow demon, and a bulletproof shadow demon. Oh, just Eddie?
Oh, Frank Castle.
Frank Castle, yeah. Eddie's just like a big reporter. He's just like a nerdy reporter, you know. Yeah, Frank's would take Eddie. Yeah, exactly. He's a roided up to Jimmy Olsen.
Yeah, exactly.
I like that. Yeah, I'll say Frank on that one. Yeah.
I think there was a question of there.
Yeah.
What are some of your favorite comic books that come out right now?
Oh my shit.
Absolute Carnage. Silver Surfer Black's really good. God, the War of the Realms just wrapped, but my answer to this question is gonna kind of always be whatever Jason Aaron's doing.
Yeah.
He's the best of us. As long as Jason is writing, we're all vying for second place. What else am I really liking right now?
I don't like anything, I don't read them.
Yeah. Grant's GL run with Liam Sharp's
Good, yeah.
far out, man. It's so cool. It's just Grant, just being Grant, man. It's just like, yeah, that's a really good book. Black Hammer, it's good. Southern Bastards, when it comes out, it's really good. Mr. Miracle was really good. You guys all know that already. Gosh, what else do I really like right now? There's a what is coming out from Marvel right now? That's dope. Oh, Al's Hulk book. Immortal Hulk is crazy. Yeah, Al was born to write that book. Gosh, yeah, that's the thing. I own a lot of comics. We do not have time to read a lot of
A lot
comics.
of times, honestly, we're just reading shit to do our job. I mean, that's
Yeah.
what sometimes we just have to, you know, like I read a lot of Donnie stuff,
Yeah.
do the Carnage stuff.
I've never read any of Frank's.
That's very hurtful.
You don't have feelings to hurt. There's because like if you're a baker, the last thing you want to do is eat some cake when you clock off, right?
Right, exactly.
The last thing I want to do when I stop writing something at the end of the day is go read some stuff, especially because like the stuff that I read is like all writers who are way better than me. And so like if I do a script and then I read some Jason Aaron stuff, I'll just be like, well fuck, I gotta rewrite that now. Damn it, if that's what I'm competing with, damn it. I read a lot of Stephen King novels.
Stephen King,
yeah.
Yeah, Stephen King I always read. I read stuff too. My friends give me stuff like, you know, Garth will give me something.
Sure.
His, and I'm like, okay, I'll read the boys. Fine, Garth, whatever, I'll read this shit.
I'm doing a reread of Alan Moore's Miracle Man right now. This is the best comic.
You know, I've never read it.
It's the best comic ever made in this man's opinion.
Wow.
It's the best comic that I don't think we will ever do better. It's incredible. I think everything that he was ever trying to say in his more popular works, or more well-known works, he did perfectly in Miracle Man. It's incredible.
He's like me, too. I mean, when I
Yeah,
mean,
get out of here. Yeah, it's amazing.
Well, I think at this point that's.
Well,
Well, let's squeeze one more question
We'll try and be
here.
quick. Yeah.
Yeah, I just want it's a clarification thing. During the whole dog thing, Venom dog thing, Venom just started talking to Eddie kind of out of nowhere. Why did that happen? Is there a reason for that to happen? Or,
In which part?
when Venom was a dog and brain dead in the beginning, he suddenly started talking to Eddie during this sort of trance sequence. Baker's trying to get Venom off of Eddie.
In the dream sequence when he's in his mind and stuff, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
What happened there? Like,
well, he's in his mind, right? And so in my interpretation of it, he was using it was using more like symbology and like what am I trying to say? Like dream state ways to communicate. Because that's the only time that it communicates is in the shared mind space. The ability for it to like talk out loud only comes at the end of that when it's been healed a little bit more. You know, and Maker says at the beginning of that arc that it'll be a slow process, but the only way to completely do it is to reconnect to the hive. You know, but he says it'll be a slow process, and even when it does talk at the very, very end, you can see it's very clipped, and it seems like it's very hard for it to get these words out. You know, yeah.
yeah, because it just sort of kind of came out of nowhere, like Venom's brain dead, but he's able to, or they are able to turn into a dog and do all this stuff, and then.
Well, the dog thing was, I mean, the idea of being together with something but being separated by Eddie having this companion around that just has to take care of and still love and care for, but the idea of it not really being able to talk to him in the traditional sense, the idea of having a dog, which is a lot of people online took that as like a degrading thing. I don't know how you guys think about dogs. I think they're wonderful. And so it's a loving thing that cares for you that can't talk to you, you know? And so he was never further away than he was from it in that moment, but wanted to keep it close and have it be there, you know?
I think the reason why they took issue with it is because what was Costa established,
Mhm.
they went from a loving relationship to that of owner and pet. Don't you think that's a downgrade?
No, I don't. I don't. And by the way, what Costa wrote is fine, and I like that run. This is the only time they've ever been written as being in a romantic relationship, and
Explicitly, there are hints in some of the 90s runs, especially with some of the language. Like Eddie has described their union as a marriage that no human can comprehend.
well, look, I don't want to yuck your yum. Okay, that's not what I'm writing. They are still in a relationship. Relationships can go bad. Relationships can be toxic. They can be confusing. People can break up. It doesn't mean that they're not in a relationship, right? I don't write them as romantic partners. I never will. That's not how I see it, you know. No, I'm just saying I'm addressing a larger contingency. Here's the thing. I don't know if you're a shipper or a part of that or anything. I think that there is this thing between me and on Tumblr that I would really like to get to the bottom of and let them know that I am not mad at whatever makes them happy. At all. Whatever makes them happy and brings joy into their life, I think that's beautiful and that's awesome. What I will not tolerate is being screamed at for the thing that makes me happy and enriches my life. I am the current custodian of this book, and I'm going to write it the way that Marvel has entrusted me to. There will be someone after me. So if you don't like it, please, honestly, I don't mean this as don't read my book. I'm saying if it makes you unhappy, please don't engage in anything that makes you unhappy on my behalf. The fight is one-sided. I like anyone who likes that character. I like him a lot too, and this is the story that I have, and I wish everybody the best of luck and love. Is that okay? Yeah? Okay.
And with that, I think we actually have run out of time. I'm very sorry to say, but thanks for your question, and thanks everybody for being here, and let's show some appreciation, folks. Thank you very much.